Good evening, Dr. Pooja.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Absolutely fine. We are meeting after so long, and
Absolutely.
even after so long, we are meeting on web.
It's virtual meeting. I think virtual meetings is the latest trend.
Yes, yes,
So happy COVID times.
yes. So, for the viewers, I will like to introduce you.
Sure.
Dr. Pooja Bandekar, she is Associate Professor in Shed GS Hospital, uh, GS Medical College, and she is unit in charge in Nauroji Wadia Maternity Hospital in Mumbai. And although nothing to say, she is Lata Mangeshkar of our Foxy, one of the best singers I have heard, and I admire her particularly singing. So she has interest, her own interest, particularly in the field of handling high risk pregnancies. So, welcome, Dr. Pooja.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, you wanted to ask me something?
Yes, sir. Since you're a lot into the medico-legal fraternity,
Yes.
and I'm seeing that documentation is something which is essential and which is an art.
Yes.
So I wanted to know medico-legal aspects of certain points of documentation. And I personally wanted to know out of personal interest, and I feel that even the viewers should know. So I wanted to know as to what is your approach towards OPD documentation or outpatient department documentation, as in when we are doing documentation while
Yes.
examining patients in OPD, how should we go about it?
Yes. So, very nice practical question. See, basically, if we cover documentation, then it will be a 2 day conference we can have on documentation,
True,
because that is documentation is the only evidence in our hand in the court of law, and
Yes.
only document is the weapon to safety for doctor. So,
As you rightly said, documentation is a weapon. I mean, it can save and it can kill.
yes. So basically, in OPD, what we are supposed to do, first of all, registration should be done, and in registration, in details, name, age, sex, race, religion, occupation, residence, and ID mark, or you should take photo ID, because identity should be kept in our possession. So these are the things which are important, and it should be written properly. Then first of all, you should ask a chief complaint of the patient, and that should be documented in the language of patient. So in most of the cases, we have seen that patient is coming that, sir, I have got married for last 5 years and not getting pregnancy, and we are writing primary infertility or secondary infertility in chief complaint. So we should not write like that. There is a diagnosis actually. So complaint is inability to conceive. So in the
Absolutely.
language of patient, you should write the chief complaint.
True.
After that, you are supposed to take history properly, because if you do not take proper history, that amounts to negligence. So
Right.
all kinds of history, as we are in obstetric practice, so menstrual history, obstetric history, personal history, past history, history of allergies, and particularly you should ask specific history for 5 major diseases. That is hypertension, diabetes mellitus, heart disease, COX, and asthma like diseases. Okay, so these are 5 diseases which are to be specifically mentioned in history. Uh, After that, you in obstetric history, you should take history of previous pregnancies, as well as in previous delivery, whether something happened or not. So history of eclampsia, pre-eclampsia, or something like that, or big baby delivery. So, or in any anomaly in the previous child. So those all histories are to be taken in detail. Then after history taking, you should examine. Now in examination, we have an habit to write NAD. So per abdomen soft, PS NAD, PV NAD. So see, courts does not allow such kind of abbreviations. If you want to write in PV examination, you are supposed to write uterus anteverted or retroverted, normal size or bulky or soft, whatever, soft inconsistency or hard inconsistency, fixed or mobile, and fornice is clear. So in that way, you are supposed to write the findings in detail. If you write NAD, that is not acceptable in the court of law. So every finding, general examination and local examination, then systemic examination, everything is to be documented in detail. And after examination, you should write the provisional diagnosis. Now it is compulsory to write a provisional diagnosis. So whatever information you have received from registration, from history, and from examination, from that you are supposed to put a provisional diagnosis. And now after provisional diagnosis, you are supposed to go for investigation. Now there are three kinds of investigation. One, suppose patient has come with a few investigation carrying with her, and we take those investigation into consideration. So those investigations are to be kept. Second, certain investigations you will do to confirm your provisional diagnosis. So those investigation report also to be kept in OPD record. And last but not least, certain investigations are necessary if you are going to treat patient. Suppose you are going to do minor operation or major operation, then minor profile or major profile is to be done. Or if you are doing antenatal checkup of a patient, then antenatal profile is to be done. And it should be defined that what is there in antenatal profile, major profile, or minor profile. Okay, so these many investigation you are supposed to keep. And after confirm, if you have done sonography, that is also an investigation. So all reports are to be mentioned on case paper of all the investigation. Reports are to be annexed with the case paper. And after investigation, you are supposed to write the final diagnosis. And after final diagnosis, if patient you are not admitting the patient, then write the treatment on treatment sheet. So whatever treatment you are writing, you are supposed to keep with you the record, and all record of OPD is also to be kept with you. So if patient demands a copy, then it is your duty to provide a copy to the patient, but all documents are to be kept with you in your possession, because that is the only hope for you in the court of law. So if OPD patient also files a case against you, then to protect yourself, you have to produce in the court of law the records of OPD also. So these many things to be kept. And in OPD, if you have done any kind of counseling, okay, that is if medical counseling or financial counseling or psychological counseling, so the paper of that counseling is to be documented and attached in the case paper itself. Over and above, there are a few consents which we used to take in OPD. Suppose patient is taking ART treatment, infertility treatment. So there are certain infertility consents which we take in OPD. So those consents are also to be attached with OPD case paper. So this much is the OPD case paper. And it is also to be kept in your possession for at least 5 years according to POCSI guideline. And according to MCI guideline, although the word used is indoor case record, but OPD case record is also supposed to be kept in your possession for at least 3 years as per MCI guideline.
Sir, I have certain difficulties in what I have beautifully explained. One, I want to know, like in certain hospitals, we are not used to keeping OPD papers with us. We give away the OPD papers. So
that is the problem with everybody. See,
yes,
there are only a few acts in which it is mentioned that OPD case record is to be preserved, and it is also not clearly mentioned. And in MCI, only indoor case record is been put in words. It is written that you are supposed to keep 3 years record of indoor case paper. Now OPD word is not used, so that's why we are not keeping. But actually, to understand that every record is for our safety.
yes.
So if you will keep OPD record, then you will be safe. Otherwise, you will be in problem whenever anything will happen.
In government hospitals, it is not possible to do so much of paperwork.
See, madam, actually in government hospital, there is a tendency that they used to give one booklet type of thing in OPD. And when patient goes home, that booklet they deposit usually. at the case paper counter.
Like, as you rightly said, that counseling, those consents, I don't think it is practically possible to do that in OPD.
No, but there is no excuse for your safety. If you have not done, then you will be held liable even in government hospital. So
And as far as
lack
the
of
COVID
time, lack of assistance, these are not the excuses acceptable in the court of law.
Okay. So one more thing, like suppose we are taking history, okay, and patient says something and we write it. And tomorrow she gets up and says, I never said this.
Okay. So once you document, it will be acceptable by the court of law that whatever patient has said is correct. And history is always alleged history, means something which is given by patient. So if you document something in history, it will be considered as history given by patient.
So
Now suppose
writing the history itself is a solid proof.
Yes. Whatever you write in case paper, that will be a solid proof in the court of law. But if you will try to alter that record, then you will be in problem. So you should never try to alter the record. And if you alter the record, then you should put a single line cut and write by the side of that thing that what is the actual thing and why you are changing with date and time and signature.
Sir, for example, suppose, while I'm writing only, I can make a mistake and I can rewrite.
Yes.
So is that acceptable?
So it's in the same way, you are supposed to cut in such a way so that what was written previously should be readable. Should be readable. You should not try to rub it, or you should not try to apply whitener on it. If you will try to apply whitener or you will try to rub it, then it will be presumed that you are supposed to hide something. Okay.
Right.
So don't try to hide anything. See, human error can happen, and we can definitely correct those errors, and that is acceptable.
Because these errors happen, sometimes we go to write G3 when it is G2.
Yes.
Sometimes we are writing with a pen and that pen gets over. Then you take somebody else's pen.
See, these things are acceptable in the court of law. But if history is different later on given by patient, then patient will be responsible for material suppression or for hiding something. Suppose you have written that no history of diabetes in your case paper, and later on it is found that patient was diabetic and some complication has happened due to diabetes only. Okay, so you will be saved. And the patient will be held responsible for contributory negligence and for hiding something. That is known as case of material suppression in the court of law.
Okay.
So patient has suppressed something.
I just want to know whether we have any liberalization or change of rules in the COVID times, because in COVID it is not practically possible to get the relative while talking to the patient.
Okay. So basically law never changes according to situation. Okay. So documentation you have to keep, whether it is COVID period or whether it is. Now a court logically takes into consideration at the time of hearing, if you will produce your case, that in COVID era with gloves in hand and with PPE kit on our body, it is very difficult to maintain document. So if you put that kind of logical thing in court, then judge may consider it. So it is on the discretion of court. But there is no excuse for not keeping records in any kind of
change for this pandemic situation. The laws are as they are.
Yes, regarding documentation, the laws are same.
Okay, sir. All right. And so would you like to tell me something about documentation in the indoor patients? This was about the OPD.
Yeah. See, indoor case, all documents till OPD are same. But once you decide that patient is going to be admitted, then from final treatment, that is plan of treatment, you are supposed to write in OPD case paper. After that, you should add pre-operative papers. So pre-operative physician checkup, pre-operative anesthetic checkup, pre-operative orders that you are giving to the patient. So all should be documented. If see something which is not documented will be considered by law that you have not done. So suppose you have given pre-operative order to the patient that please come tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. kneel by mouth. But if you have not written that order, and if something happens to the patient in the morning after giving anesthesia, and it is found that aspiration has been there due to patient has come after taking breakfast, okay, so you will be in difficulty. So pre-operative orders must be documented. Pre-operative anesthetic checkup must be done. See, nowadays anesthetists are busy and they are directly coming into OT. They are avoiding doing pre-anesthetic checkup, pre-operative. So that is not advisable, at least in planned surgeries. Okay, he must meet the patient. He must himself take consent. Anesthetist contract is a separate contract. Then after that, whenever you do operation, anesthetic note should be complete, minute to minute basis. It should be written in operation theater, and operative note should be written in detail. See, we are very much casual in writing operative note. Once we become senior, we only write hysterectomy done under spinal anesthesia, and that's all. Okay, so that is not allowed. So whatever we were writing in our residency days, that the patient is taken on table in lithotomy position, parts painted and draped. So you have to start from there, and per operative findings should be written in details. Then after that, post-operative treatment is to be mentioned in detail. You should never write SOS injections. You should never write that give injection Amiset SOS or give injection dicloran SOS. No, you write inform me whenever any problem, and once the problem will arise, then only you prescribe. Otherwise, court will presume that you have given order and you have gone at home. You are not taking care of the patient at all. So inform medical officer if any problem occurs. So never write in indoor patient SOS treatment. Okay, that is, and whenever you write medication, you must write name, dose, route, and time. Everything should be written properly. Suppose you are writing injection Amiset, and you are supposed to write either it is 2 ml vial or ampule or 4 ml ampule should be you have written. Even pints, everybody writes pint casually. 1 pint DNS, 1 pint NS, but they don't write 500 ml or 1 liter. So everything, yes. So dose, route, time, and name of the injection, and after every order, the doctor should sign, and with date and time. So that is to be maintained, and there should not be any discrepancy in doctor's order and medication chart maintained by nurse. Nurse has to maintain medication chart, then input output chart, TPR BP chart on hourly basis, and last but not least overcharge. If patient duties of nurses are changing, then they will give in nursing progress chart over to the next nurse. Last but not least, whenever you discharge the patient, discharge card is must to be given. On discharge card, patient's signature is must with doctor's signature, and you are supposed to write everything in detail, whatever treatment is given to the patient, and follow-up advices should be written in detail. So if patient will not follow even a single small advice, then you can tell that as patient has not followed advice, that's why this has happened. So you won't be held responsible for that. So you will be saved for giving good number of follow-up advices. And last but not least, checklist should always be attached with the case paper. So at the time of discharge, you must check that everything is properly put at a proper place in case paper, and you have to paginate the case, complete case. And at last, you must write annexer all the reports, and then write that how many total number of pages are there in that indoor case. So you have to maintain this, and everything should be in a order. First page should be registration form, second is history, chief complaint, history, examination, provisional diagnosis, investigation, final diagnosis, plan of treatment, then counselings, then consent, then pre-operative, per-operative, post-operative, and then discharge card, checklist, and annexers. So this is the protocol of maintaining indoor case.
Sir, what would you like to elaborate about the confidentiality of the discharge document that we give?
Yes. See, confidentiality nowadays is getting too much importance. Okay. So if patient is not ready to divulge her or his disease, then you cannot divulge it. Even wife's treatment, you cannot discuss it with husband also, if she is not giving you the permission. So if somebody is accompanying the patient at the time of taking treatment, it is always better to write the name of the accompanying person also in the case paper, so that if something will be divulged by that person to somebody else, then you will not be held responsible for that. So you can save yourself. Okay. But if patient does not want to reveal her disease or anything of her document, then you cannot reveal it to anybody except patient.
what happens is, I mean, these are, I'm sorry, I'm keeping on bothering you, but then these are things which happen with us also. Like we talk to, say, the mother of the patient. Again, after 4 hours, the husband comes. So we talk to the husband. Again, after 4 hours, somebody else comes. And then we cannot say that only one relative is required. Like every time there is a new relative.
No, I am not telling that you can only explain to one relative. But
practically becomes difficult to explain.
Whomsoever you are informing, to whomsoever you are informing, then it should be informed with the consent of the patient. Okay. You should ask that whether patient desires to reveal her disease to this particular person or not.
So because what happens is, as you said, that you should document the name of the person whom you are informing.
Yes.
That name only keeps on changing because every time we get a new relative.
Yes. Then you have to write that I have explained to mother-in-law, father-in-law, husband with the permission of patient or in presence of patient.
When we give the discharge card, are we supposed to mention the word confidential on it?
No, not required. Confidentiality is a right of patient and duty of doctor to maintain. Nothing to be written. See, when अगर आप सांस लेते हो तो लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, सांस ले रही हूँ.
बराबर.
सांस तो लेना ही लेना है.
ये HIV, HbSAg, HCV के रिपोर्ट्स लिख सकते हैं.
Yes, 100%.
कोविड का रिपोर्ट भी लिख सकते हैं.
सब है.
कोविड का रिपोर्ट भी लिख सकते हैं.
Yes. You can write everything. See, the basic thing is that you can write everything on discharge card and hand over it to the patient. Okay. If patient do not want to divulge that record to anybody, patient can throw it out or torn it. Patient can do it anything to the record. So for that we are not responsible. But it is our duty to give discharge card to the patient.
And should we keep a copy of the discharge card?
100%. Every page of indoor case paper you are supposed to keep with annexers also. And whenever something will happen, it is your duty to produce in the court of law.
Okay. Sir, it was a very informative session, and documentation is something which is really close to my heart. And I have been, reinforced in my residency about documentation. And I am trying to reinforce on the current generation, but the current generation is so tech savvy that they are not very much interested in writing.
Yes.
So I really wanted to discuss this. And I'm
See, on every topic, registration form, history, examination, there are multiple decided cases by different courts. And we can take 1 hour lecture for every part. Suppose history 1 hour lecture, examination 1 hour lecture. So like that, every part there will be 1 hour lecture, and we can have 2 days conference for documentation. So
Amazing. I have known you. I would like to tell the viewers that I know Dr. Geetendra Sharma sir now for so many years, past so many years, and he's a very pleasant, smiling, ever smiling, vibrant, fresh personality. He seems to have frozen over the past so many years. I'm not seeing him aging. I'm not seeing him getting tired. And I'm so happy that he is that way for the past so many years. Never heard anybody speaking anything wrong about him. He is a national and an international medico-legal expert. He is an expert obstetrician and gynecologist, but probably the medico-legal fraternity needs him so much that he has completely dedicated himself to medico-legal fraternity. He is an amazing human being, a very helpful human being, a great friend. I think I'm proud to have him as my friend, a lover of art, an appreciator of performing arts, an excellent shire. I have been privileged to know and to read Urdu Shayari written by Dr. Geetendra Sharma. If I tell somebody that a Gujju Bhai, a medico-legal expert, is writing Urdu Shayari, people will think ki puja satya gayi hai, but no. I think, Sharma sir, you should now publish what you're writing in Urdu. And why I am reinforcing all his qualities is mainly for a very selfish motto. He is now contesting the elections for the post of Vice President West Zone Foxy. And I think that when a multifaceted personality comes onto a post, when an artist, come doctor, come medico-legal expert comes on a post, the post will be handled with the best of ability, responsibility, and passion. Because an artist, I can say for myself that a person who's into arts is extremely passionate and committed about anything and everything that comes that person's way. So I want to wish Dr. Gitendra Sharma all the best for his elections, and I want to appeal all the viewers to do consider him for the post of Vice President Wezone Foxy. And I want to thank you, sir, my friend, my philosopher, my guide, my mentor, and a very close associate, for giving me this opportunity. People will now know that Pooja can even talk, not just only sing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you.
Kyale.